My name is Jason Cooper. I'm 41 years old. I used to live in Austin, Texas. I've worked in branding and marketing for nearly 2 decades. I've built companies from scratch. I've launched million-dollar ad campaigns. But none of that prepared me for the day my life fell apart. The day I got the email. I was standing in a cemetery. My father had just been lowered into the ground. I wasn't checking my phone for anything work-related. I was just trying to breathe. But a notification popped up anyway. Subject line: Finalized property transfer. Case hashtag 94870TX. At first, I thought it was a scam, a phishing email, or some random legal spam. But when I opened the attached PDF, I felt the ground shift under me. It was real. She had sold the house. The home we had built together. The one with the big white porch she'd always dreamed of. Gone. And the best part? She did it while I was at my father's funeral. No warning. No conversation. Not even a text. Just a cold, calculated signature on a contract, and she was gone. You might think that was the worst of it. But no, that was just the beginning. Because this woman, the one I married, the one I supported through depression, job loss, and even her first shaky steps as an influencer, she wasn't just walking away. She was erasing me. I remember watching her Instagram story just 2 nights later. She was smiling, barefoot on a white sand beach, holding a champagne glass with one hand and waving at her loyal fans with the other. The caption read, "Sometimes, letting go is the most powerful thing you can do. Cherry blossom hashtag new beginnings hashtag free spirit." She didn't just leave. She celebrated. And as I sat there, no house, no explanation, still wearing the same black suit from my dad's funeral, something inside me snapped. Not with rage. Not with tears. With clarity. If she thought she could strip me of everything I built, if she thought she could smile for 1 million followers and play the innocent, if she thought I was the kind of man who would roll over quietly, then she clearly had no idea who I really was. Because what she didn't know, what she never knew, was that I built her brand. I knew her sponsors. I had back-end access to her media kit, her demo data, her conversion rates. And the biggest deal of her life? The one worth 6 figures, airing live to over 1 million viewers? That was going to be the stage for my response. But before we get there, you need to know who she really was. Because I didn't always hate her. I once loved her. More than anything. Let me take you back to the life I thought I had. I met Samantha 10 years ago at a business conference in Chicago. She wasn't a speaker. She wasn't even an attendee. She was working the coffee bar at the back of the event hall. I remember it so clearly. I was running late between breakout sessions, and I stopped for a quick espresso. She smiled, handed me my cup, and said, "You look like someone who talks more than he listens." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was true. She had this magnetic energy. Confident, sarcastic, charming in a way that didn't even try to impress anyone. We talked for 10 minutes that day. I skipped the next session just to keep the conversation going. A week later, we went on our first date. She told me she had just gotten out of a bad relationship. Said she was rebuilding her life, trying to figure out what she really wanted. I respected that. I told her I wasn't looking for anything serious. But somehow, one dinner turned into weekends together, which turned into her moving into my place in Austin 6 months later. Back then, Samantha was working 2 jobs and dabbling in content creation, mostly lifestyle stuff. Low-res selfies. Makeup tutorials. inspirational quotes. Nothing big. But she had a spark. And I believed in her. I offered to help her take it seriously. See, marketing is what I do. I know audience psychology, conversion, brand strategy. So I sat her down one night and said, "If you're willing to treat this like a business, I'll treat it like one too." We built everything together, her color palette, her brand voice, the video structure. I even built her website, helped her draft outreach emails for sponsorships, set up analytics, and managed her mailing list. Slowly but surely, it started working. Followers grew. Brands started noticing. By year 2, she had 80,000 followers on Instagram, 25K on YouTube. She got her first paid brand deal, $500 for a skincare product shout-out. She cried, and I hugged her like she'd just won the lottery. We got married the next spring. We bought a cozy home just outside the city. Big enough for guests, quiet enough for content filming. She picked the wallpaper, the hanging lights, and the little pink office chair she used to shoot her videos. I paid for it all. Not because she asked, but because I loved her. And because I genuinely believed we were building something together. She'd say things like, "You made this all possible. I couldn't have done any of this without you." And I believed her. In the evenings, we'd sit on the back porch, drink wine, and talk about dreams, travel, a future baby, maybe a joint podcast someday. I didn't see the cracks. Not at first. There were small moments I ignored. Like how she started spending more time collaborating with male influencers I didn't know. Or how she started locking her phone, even though she used to leave it charging in the kitchen at night. She said it was because of privacy and hate DMs. I nodded. I didn't push. She traveled more. Said it was for networking. Brand events. Part of the hustle. Once, she came back from LA with a brand new bag I hadn't seen before. Said it was a gift from the brand. The label still had the receipt inside. She had paid for it. But again, I said nothing. Why? Because I trusted her. Because I loved her. Because I didn't want to believe the woman I built a life with was lying to my face. I remember one night, a year before the divorce, when we were curled up watching a movie. She was scrolling through her phone while half watching the screen. I looked at her and asked, "Are you happy?" She didn't answer right away. Then she smiled softly and said, "Of course I am, babe. Look at everything we built." I wanted to believe it. But something about the way she said it felt distant. Like the words were scripted. Like she was reading from a script she didn't write herself. Looking back now, I see it all. The late-night texts. The secret passwords. The quiet emotional exit that happened months before the physical one. But at the time, I thought we were just growing. I thought she was overwhelmed. I thought I could fix it if I just gave her more support. I started pulling back at work to be around more. I cooked dinner, cleaned up, scheduled many weekend trips, just the two of us. But nothing worked. She was slipping away. Quietly. Carefully. Like a thief who knew exactly where everything was kept, and how to leave without a trace. It was around this time she started handling her sponsorships alone. She said brands wanted to deal directly with talent. I agreed, reluctantly. After all, it was her brand now. I never imagined that same brand, the one we built together, would be used as a weapon against me. But the moment of betrayal didn't come like a thunderclap. It came like a whisper. Slow. Subtle. I didn't even realize I was bleeding until it was too late. And by the time I did, she had already packed her bags. But the universe has a funny way of balancing things. Because while she thought I was too broken to fight back, she forgot who helped her rise in the first place. She forgot that I taught her the game. And now, I was about to show her what happens when the student betrays the teacher. There's a silence that settles between two people when the truth is trying to claw its way out. It doesn't scream. It hums, low and steady, like the sound a fridge makes at 3 a.m., just loud enough to remind you that something's off. That silence lived in our house for months. Samantha wasn't cruel. She wasn't loud. She didn't fight. She just wasn't there. Even when she was sitting across from me at dinner, I could feel her mind somewhere else. Somewhere far away. Her phone would buzz. She'd glance at it, smile quietly, type something back quickly, and then slip it face down on the table. She said it was her social media manager. Funny. I was the one who used to play that role. One night I asked, "Want to watch something together?" She looked up from her phone. "I already watched that episode." We used to wait for each other to binge shows. That was our thing. "Oh, okay," I said. And that was it. I sat next to her for an hour pretending to scroll through my own phone, pretending not to see her laugh quietly at someone else's messages. I wanted to ask her, "Who is he?" But I couldn't, because I didn't want the answer. She started taking weekend retreats, influencer self-care getaways. They looked real enough. Group photos, yoga mats, matcha lattes. But one night, she forgot to turn off her location sharing on our shared iPad. It pinged from a high-rise hotel in downtown Austin. I zoomed in. Only one name came to mind, Eric. Eric was a YouTuber she'd collaborated with twice. Fit. Overconfident. The type who posted shirtless thumbnails and sold alpha mindset merch. I never liked him. Not because I was jealous. Because I saw the way he looked at her in their collab video. He was in that hotel. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I did something that even surprised me. I waited. The next day, she walked through the door with a fresh blowout and that overused line. "We didn't get much sleep. These retreats are exhausting." I looked at her and said, "Yeah. I bet the Hilton downtown doesn't have blackout curtains." Her face twitched. Just for a second. That was the first time she realized I was paying attention again. I stopped being the helpful husband. I stopped cooking dinner. I stopped commenting on her posts. I stopped liking the content she made for people who weren't me. And she noticed. She said, "You've been distant lately." I smiled and replied, "Yeah, I guess I've been exhausted." Let her taste her own excuse. She got defensive. Started twisting it around. "You've changed. You don't support me the way you used to. You're always looking at me like you're judging me. You act like you don't trust me anymore." And finally, "Maybe we need a break. Maybe we're not working." That was her strategy. Get ahead of the truth. If she left me first, she could paint the picture of a marriage that fell apart. Because we grew apart. Not because she tore it in half with her own hands. I didn't fight her. I just said, "If that's what you want." She paused. She didn't expect that. She thought I'd beg, plead, bargain. But all I did was say, "Okay," and that was the most powerful thing I'd said in months. She moved out 2 weeks later. The day she packed her things, she left behind a few boxes in the garage. Old notebooks. Branded PR kits. A hard drive. I opened one of the notebooks out of curiosity. A little black leather one I hadn't seen before. On the inside cover, written in her handwriting. Be the storm, not the survivor. Page after page, filled with ideas, campaign plans, money goals, and something else. A list titled Exit Strategy. Start separating finances. Set up new solo accounts. Move sponsorships under LLC. Find new manager. Find new place. Get legal advice quietly. Play victim. Make sure he doesn't see it coming. My stomach dropped. I wasn't just part of a betrayal. I was a business plan. From that moment, I knew two things. This wasn't just about love anymore. She had no idea who she was really playing with. Because what Samantha didn't know was that I had copies of everything. Every brand email I ever wrote for her. Every invoice. Every early logo file. Her empire? It had my fingerprints on it. And the best part? The hard drive she left behind in the garage, the one she probably thought was empty, contained video drafts, private collab deals, and screenshots she forgot to delete. I had evidence. I had leverage. And most importantly, I had nothing left to lose. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just break your heart, it sharpens it. You stop bleeding and start planning. And that's exactly what I did. I got myself a lawyer. Not the kind you find in Yelp reviews or Instagram ads. No. I hired Melissa Crane, the one divorce attorneys whisper about in fear. The woman had a reputation. Zero mercy, iron smile, wins like it's a sport. She read the exit strategy notebook and didn't even flinch. Instead, she looked up and said, she planned a divorce like it was a product launch. Then she leaned forward. Let's ruin her marketing campaign. Samantha had no idea what was coming. She thought this would be easy. She'd pitch a mutual separation story to her audience. Talk about growing in different directions. Drop a sad music track over a black and white vlog. But this wasn't YouTube. This was real life. And in real life, the algorithm doesn't protect you from consequences. We started by freezing the accounts. Since most of her sponsorship money ran through the old joint LLC we created, I had access, and I had the receipts to prove I was the co-founder, even if the public didn't know it. While she posted yoga selfies and healing energy quotes on her Instagram, we filed paperwork behind the scenes. Bank account access suspended. Sponsorship payouts paused pending review. Branded contracts under audit. She called me. Why are my deals frozen? Why can't I access the marketing dashboard? What the hell are you doing? I calmly said. Just making sure everything's divided fairly. And then I played my ace. I leaked the exit strategy document anonymously. Not to the public. Not yet. But to her inner circle. Brand reps. A few influencer friends. A couple of the PR firms she kissed up to. It was subtle. A concerned third party email. Attached. A blurry photo of her notebook with a single subject line. This who you're partnering with? No threats. No accusations. Just a mirror. The silence that followed was delicious. Brands started pulling out. Collaborators canceled shoots. One of her empowerment sisters unfollowed her publicly and posted a story that read, "Integrity matters. Always." She was spiraling, and I hadn't even stepped into the courtroom yet. When we finally met at the first hearing, she looked exhausted. Still pretty, still polished, but different. Like someone who'd slept in fear for the first time. Her lawyer, some TV-friendly guy in a navy suit, tried to charm the room. Didn't work. Melissa smiled sweetly and handed over our package. Screenshots, emails, notebook scans, hard drive logs. A full breakdown of every dollar she made using systems I built. The judge skimmed through them and said, "So your client's business relied heavily on the contributions of her husband?" Her lawyer hesitated. "Well, not entirely, but—" Melissa interrupted. "We're not here for vague answers. We're here for equitable distribution." And just like that, half of everything she built was now on the table. She tried to play the victim online, posted a long, teary video titled, "He wasn't who I thought he was." She sat in soft lighting, no makeup, sad music in the background, talked about how the internet doesn't see the full story, how some people change when you grow, how she was just trying to protect her peace. The comments were split at first, but people aren't stupid. They started noticing her old videos disappearing, collaborators distancing themselves. And then, one of the leaked notebook pages surfaced on Reddit. It went viral. The caption? "Samantha's healing journey looks a lot like corporate sabotage." She stopped posting for a while. And I got to breathe. For the first time in over a year, I could actually taste my coffee, sleep through the night, walk around my home without wondering if I was losing my mind. But it wasn't over yet, because I still hadn't decided how far I wanted to take this. Melissa asked me bluntly one day, "Do you want to finish her or free yourself?" And I said, "I want both." So we crafted the next move. A final offer. Not just for the divorce, but for everything. The business, the content, the followers, the narrative. I told her, "I'll walk away quietly. I won't sue for defamation. I won't drop what I have to the press. But I want my share. And I want an acknowledgement." She hesitated, tried to negotiate, tried to gaslight. "Why are you doing this? I thought you loved me. You're just trying to destroy me because you're bitter. This isn't you." And I just looked at her and said, "You're right. This isn't me. But you made him." There's something poetic about revenge. Not the loud, messy kind, but the surgical kind. Clean, precise, delivered with a smile. And that's exactly what I planned. She thought the final offer was the end. That I'd take the money, disappear, and let her rebrand as a phoenix rising from digital ashes. But I had something better in mind. A legacy. You see, while she was building her influencer empire, I was watching from the shadows, helping her script, edit, upload, optimize. But I wasn't just building her business. I was learning, watching what made the algorithm tick, what made brands sign, what made people trust. And with all that knowledge, I built my own channel. Started small, anonymous voiceover videos, life lessons, deep insights, stories of betrayal, healing, and starting over. People connected instantly. The numbers grew fast. 100K subs in the first month, 300K the next. By the time our divorce settlement was finalized, I had 500,000 people listening to me every week. And they had no idea who I was. Not yet. But I knew how to make an entrance. The day the divorce papers were signed, I uploaded a video. No face. No name. Just the title. "She took everything. Until I took it back." The story began. A man. Quiet. Loyal. Supporting a woman who had dreams of fame. She rose. He stayed in the background. She cheated. He stayed silent. She planned a clean exit. He let her think she won. And then, he documented everything. The story wasn't told with rage. It wasn't even dramatic. It was cold, honest, heartbreaking, calculated. I blurred all names, used AI voices, protected my identity, but left enough breadcrumbs. Enough for the internet detectives to do what they do best. And within 24 hours, Reddit exploded. People pieced it together. This sounds like Samantha's ex. Wait, is this the guy from the Healing Coach divorce? The timeline matches. Those notebook quotes are identical. Within 48 hours, hashtag exit strategy started trending on Twitter. Memes, reactions, think pieces on toxic positivity and influencer narcissism. And Samantha? She posted a black screen on her IG story with 3 words. This isn't true. No one cared. Because the internet had already chosen their truth, and this time, they chose mine. Sponsors distanced themselves permanently. She lost 2 major brand deals within the week. Even her podcast, Sacred Self Sessions, got bombed with 1-star reviews. And all I did was upload 1 story. But I wasn't done. 3 weeks later, I posted part 2. Healing after her. What I learned from loving a liar. It wasn't petty. It was thoughtful. It was human. I talked about codependency. How love sometimes blinds us. How betrayal sharpens our vision. And how healing isn't always silent. Sometimes it's strategic. Viewers poured in. DMs flooded my inbox. Men, women, couples, survivors of narcissists, all saying, "Thank you for saying what I couldn't say. You helped me leave her. Your story saved me." Irony, huh? While she tried to sell healing as a business, I gave healing away as a story. And the story went viral. She went off the grid for months, deleted her Twitter, turned off Instagram comments, made her YouTube private. Meanwhile, I was invited to podcasts, TED-style panels, even a book deal proposal. One night, I got an email. No subject, no message, just a PDF, titled, "I'm sorry." It was from her. I didn't open it. Some things don't deserve closure, because the best revenge isn't ruining someone else's life. It's rebuilding your own so powerfully. They can't look at theirs without remembering what they lost. And in her case, she didn't just lose me. She lost the narrative. It's been 14 months since the final court date. Since the world learned what really happened. Since I stopped being her husband and started being me again. I live at a smaller place now. No more luxury condo. No smart fridge that talks to you. Just a clean, quiet apartment with a view of the hills. And peace. God, I forgot what peace felt like. There are mornings I wake up and still reach across the bed out of habit. Old patterns take time to break. But now, there's no dread. No wondering who she's texting. No cold silence in the kitchen. Just me, my coffee, and a sense of freedom I haven't felt in years. They say divorce breaks a man. And maybe they're right. But sometimes, breaking is the only way to find the parts of you that were never truly whole. She took the house. She took the car. She took the image, the followers, the fake narrative. But she couldn't take the one thing that mattered. My story. And when I took that back, not with rage, not with chaos, but with truth, the whole world listened. I get messages every day from strangers. "I'm going through something similar. How did you stay calm? You gave me the courage to walk away." It's strange being seen like this. Not as a victim. Not even as a hero. Just as a man who refused to let betrayal become his identity. And you know what's wild? I'm grateful. Not for the pain. Not for the nights I questioned my own sanity. But for the clarity. Because it taught me that love isn't about fixing someone who keeps breaking you. It's about choosing peace, even if it means walking away from what you thought was your forever. I've stopped looking at her social media. Stopped checking if she's rebounded. Because the truth is, I don't care anymore. Not out of anger. Out of growth. I used to think revenge would feel like fireworks. Like a victory lap with a trophy in hand. But it didn't. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. It felt like looking in the mirror and recognizing the man staring back. Would I do it again? The marriage? Maybe not. But the story? Absolutely. Because this story, my story, didn't just entertain people. It reminded them that silence can be powerful, that dignity is louder than drama, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is let someone go, so you can finally come home to yourself. So if you're watching this, and you're in the middle of your own storm, a betrayal, a heartbreak, a silent war behind closed doors, I want you to hear this. You don't have to destroy someone to win. You just have to stop letting them destroy you. Because healing isn't loud. It's not revenge porn or rage texts. Healing is quiet, patient, disciplined. It's choosing growth over gossip, over games, over grief. She took my house. I took back my voice. And in front of 1 million people, I finally said what mattered most. You don't get to define me anymore. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing. Not for drama, but for stories that remind us we're not alone. We're not broken. We're just getting started. After the courtroom showdown, I didn't celebrate. I didn't party. I just left. I packed what was mine, the little that was left, and drove 6 hours out to a small lakeside town I'd only ever heard about in passing. No one knew me there. No one cared about my past. And that was exactly what I needed. I rented a modest cabin. Nothing fancy. Just enough space for a desk, a bed, and a view of the water that changed colors with the mood of the sky. And for the first time in years, I slept without locking the bedroom door. I didn't disappear. I reinvented. I started a small consulting firm. Nothing with big ads or flashy offices. Just word of mouth. You see, I knew there were men out there, just like me. Men who'd been blindsided, cheated, lied to, torn apart in silence. But more than that, I knew how they could fight back. Legally. Logically. Without losing themselves. I wasn't a lawyer. I wasn't a therapist. I was something different. Someone who'd been through the fire and walked out whole. And men started reaching out. Quietly at first. Then steadily. Some just needed to talk. Others needed strategies. And a few just needed to hear that they weren't weak for hurting. Over time, my days became full. Not with bitterness, but with purpose. I walked by the lake every morning. I kept my phone on silent more often than not. I read old books. Drank strong coffee. And I stopped asking, why me? Because honestly, I already knew. It wasn't about what she took. It was about what I let go of. My self-respect, my voice, my peace, all in the name of saving something that was already broken. Looking back now, I see things clearly. Betrayal doesn't break a man. Silence does. The silence you keep when something feels off, but you don't want to seem paranoid. The silence when you notice the lies stacking up, but you tell yourself it's probably nothing. The silence when you want to scream, cry, fight, but instead you stay calm, hoping things will fix themselves. That silence? It's a slow death. And I don't do silence anymore. I'm not angry at her anymore. Honestly, I hope she's doing whatever makes her sleep at night. But me? I sleep just fine now, because I took back something more valuable than a house or a contract or even revenge. I took back me. Now, I speak up, not with rage, but with truth. I help other men do the same. Some call it justice. Some call it closure. I call it healing. Not the kind that comes with time. The kind that comes with standing up, even if your voice shakes, and saying, "This ends here." I still keep that sponsorship plaque in my office. Not because it matters, but because it reminds me of the moment I chose to stop being the victim and started being the architect of my own life. It's not about winning. It's about reclaiming power, one decision at a time. I used to think love was about loyalty. Now I know. Love starts with loyalty to yourself. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your suffering. You owe yourself peace. And that's what I found. Not in the courtroom. Not on social media. Not in any victory. But here, by this lake. With a clear sky, a calm heart. And a future I built brick by brick, not for her, not to prove a point, but for me. She took my house, but I took back something greater, my dignity. And I'll never let anyone take that again.